Evening and welcome back in Nottingham. Season 25-26. Mr. Stallard making his seasonal debut tonight. Lots to discuss, as you might imagine. Who was out in Germany for the pre-season programme of games? Let us know your thoughts from what you've seen so far. New signings, some might say lack of them. What are your thoughts? Alex Bass has gone. We don't appear to have a number one lined up or certainly arrived in the building just yet. 12 days before the start of the season. What are your thoughts on that? Finally confirmed that Alisana Jata is going to miss 5 games at the start of this season. Your thoughts and views on that? Though Alisana was on the mark in the behind closed doors victory over Port Vale on Saturday. Who's got their season tickets, their green shirts, their Newport away tickets? Who's coming to Cardiff? 3 o'clock on Saturday. All that and more in our show tonight. Mr. Stallard, we know you're not a pre-season sort of man, are you really? You're on record as that many times.
Absolutely. I've been scarred for life by doing so many of them when I played. So, they leave a nasty taste in the mouth once you've done a few. Look, they've been in Germany, haven't they, for sort of 8-9 days, so I've been keeping tabs on it from afar, but I don't think you can read too much into pre-season in games. We'll touch on this. I've spoke about it before. Players going to pre-season games and the team and they're preparing for the first game of the season. They're not preparing for the games that they're actually playing, which might sound a bit weird, but that's exactly what's happening. So I like to not go and see players when they're maybe stiff, carrying lactic, done hard sessions, not at their best. They're not preparing for them games. So to go and see them, judge them on them games, I don't think is fair. So again, I like to see a clean slate when it matters. I like to see the players when it matters and see what they're about then. But obviously, keep tabs and hear people's opinions and read a fair few things and speak to a few people about the players that are in the building added to the ones that we've got.
Indeed, lots to talk about, as we say. But top of the show, Martin Patterson will be coming on our podcast. We are due to pre-record that tomorrow, myself and Stell. So thank you to Martin. Thank you to the club for facilitating that. Martin's also doing one with Notts County Talk as well. So I think it's great that the club are engaging, as is Martin with us. So we'll have lots of questions for him. And that show we're planning to put out on Wednesday evening, 7 o'clock. That will be a recorded show that we're doing tomorrow evening. So that should be good. That should be good. Thanks as always to our official partners, JH Accountants, who've got offered the chance for you to win an away shirt, green shirt. Just subscribe to the channel. All you have to do, if you're not already subscribed, is hit the little red button, subscribe, completely free, and we'll be making that draw in time for next Monday's show. So win an away shirt courtesy of JH Accountants. And of course, thank you as always to the Big Shed at the Trent Navigation. A quick few messages from our flock. Here's Jürgen. Evening all. Picked up new away shirt, season ticket, and Newport ticket. Wigan ticket bought online this morning. Jürgen, who's going to be living on bread and lard for the rest of the month after spending all that money on Notts County. So well done to Jürgen. Super fan, I think, there. And he asked, do we think Max Boruk will be our new number one? He's played a few games in Germany and I saw him play. I'm not aware we've signed him yet, but let's see what does and doesn't happen. Gaza Lee said Jata was going to miss 6 games, 3 + 3 for the red and the aftermath. That was confirmed by Martin in his interview after the last game at Stuttgart Kickers. What are our thoughts on? We'll get those from Stella in a moment. So whatever happens, Alisana Jata will not be playing in the first 5 competitive games of Notts' season. Evening all from David Dawes. Let's hope we surprise everyone this season. Evening from Stephen Newton. Royston, looking forward to hearing everyone's views tonight. Tim Watchen, I'm confident Martin Patterson can bring success, but he must be given the tools of quality to do it. And that's a word that's been mentioned a lot in the past few weeks. Quality of signings, not just numerical strength, but quality of incoming players. Evening from John Gregory and from Richard Elvian, and also from George Hilton. Good to be back. Looking forward to the new season. Karen Knight, evening from her and Adi Clark, show regular. Evening all, looking forward to tonight. Great to have you both back. Concerned about the lack of signings, but keeping the faith. Murray Biddle, is it right, Jata, 5 more game suspension? It is. Murray's also picked up his season tickets today, ready for the new season. Still hoping for a new keeper and 2 strikers for Newport, says Murray. Royston, who picks the starting 11 this season? Patterson or the backroom think tank squad? That might be a question we put in slightly more subtle terms to Martin for the show, Royston. Martin Shipley, evening all. It's hard to tell if things are taking shape or not really. The Germany trip was a good exercise, but didn't tell us anything about who will be in the first league match starting 11. Have great hopes for the season, says David Amy. Evening from Dale Pikett, Dave Woolley, Phil Summer. Glad to see everyone back. Doesn't seem like 5 minutes since the season finished. It does for me feel one of the shortest pre-seasons on record. Of course, starting a little bit earlier because of World Cup year as well. Phil Sumo, I haven't seen any pre-season. Are we stronger than last year? Well, we'll let the flock answer that one. Evening, everyone, says Duncan Comrie. Chris Gosling, the prospect of playing Jody and Jarvis as 2 10s is something I'm very much looking forward for. Derek Flowers, season tickets or season card, I'm using the old vernacular, done. Cardiff tickets done. Home shirt Friday, that's when provisionally the club are hoping to have it on sale. Green shirt, not for me. Colin Metcalf, we've let so much quality go and not replaced it. I confess to being slightly concerned, but I'll save my judgment until around October when we've played enough games to form an opinion. Okay, lots more to come. Still, before my voice gives out early doors, I guess it's inevitable that we overanalyze everything in pre-season, read all sorts of nuances. But if you look at it holistically, have you been a little surprised in terms of the quality that has been allowed or been sold to move on? And there's not necessarily been any what you might call marquee or key new players coming in to fill those boots. That's not to denigrate any of the new lads we've got coming in, but are you at all surprised at all or not?
A little bit, yeah. I must admit I am, and I think you'd hear a chorus of similar responses if you canvass Notts fans' opinion of the summer. You know, the transfers and the dealings, and obviously the main headline factor was David McGoldrick leaving and ultimately joining Barnsley, going back to I think former teammate in it, Conor Hourihane, who's manager there now. You know, with him going, such a catalyst for the team, such quality that he showed, particularly last season, that you know you were expecting sort of a marquee signing at least to replace him, which hasn't happened yet. Now, not to say that that won't happen. Um, and again, you're absolutely right. We can't judge these lads that have come in. I certainly won't until maybe 6, 7, 8 games into the season, into the competitive games where it matters, games that mean something, league games and the cup games. You know, pre-season doesn't give you a real true reflection of a player's ability. Of course, you can have a look at the technical aspect of them, the physical aspect of what they've got, but not really. Nobody wants to be judged on pre-season games, so that'd be too harsh. But I think, you know, I can't get away from the word underwhelming, and it sounds like a dig or a derogatory term, but I think if you ask most fans, I think that'd be a word that would maybe spring to mind. The upside of that is we are hopefully going to be pleasantly surprised come 6, 7, 8 games into the season at what has been brought in, because they are to certainly to me and to most of our fans, I assume, fairly unknown quantities of players, how good they are. The likes of Penda and Kuiar, Cotter, Al Joffrey, and I have got them written down here because they're not rolling off the tongue yet. Matty Dennis as well. But, I've done a little bit of digging on one or two of them and had some decent reports about them. But again, time will tell. When you move to a new club, you just never know how it's going to go. So, look, we hope they all do well. We hope they all fit in well. But I'm still expecting, I don't know whether the club are going to sort of put numbers on it. I'd still expect 2 or 3, first team players, quality signings to come in, if not by the start of the season, then very soon into it before the window closes, because that word quality, match winning quality. You get rid of a McGoldrick, obviously Dan Crowley went in the January window. That needs replacing. Match winning quality needs replacing. And I think if you listen to Martin Patterson's sort of interviews during pre-season after the games and whatever, you get the impression he's maybe looking for a bit more quality, whether that's from an improvement from the lads that are already in, which can happen, again, it's pre-season, or whether that's just a little bit of a nod to this squad needs strengthening before we can really look to compete and do anything. And I think everybody would know and would say a goalkeeper, a number one goalkeeper probably is a prerequisite, but it's at the top end of the pitch, that creative end of the pitch. I think the McGoldrick replacement, if you like, the Dan Crowley replacement, that's the area. Because if you look at the team now, and everyone's right, we're glad to have Jody back, and we're looking excited if he's going to play as a number 10. Will Jarvis as well, could he blossom this year and really, grab a game by the scruff of the neck and win us a few games? But if you take Jody out with an injury, then you look at it and go, have we got too much? Have we got enough in the squad to replace him? We hope it doesn't happen first and foremost, but I think, that is for me why we still need to strengthen, with quality in that attacking third.
Chris Gossing said Paul's taken up taxidermy in the off season. Look, I've been training them. Look, they're real. Yeah, look. Cyril and Howard. There we go. That's what I'm going to call them. Yeah, you're quite right. For anyone thinking that, of course, they're not real. But they are stuffed. Yes, absolutely. Evening from sunny Yorkshire, says John Parnham. James Moore. I don't want to be a doom goblin, but please, brothers, get this squad together. Ian Cooksey, I'm trying to be positive, but the lack of quality signings is worrying. The lack of any PR from the club is also slightly disturbing. Nothing from the brothers. But to be fair, Ian, the manager is being put up, or the head coach is being put up for ourselves and for Notts County Talk. So hopefully that will alleviate some of any fears or thoughts, and we can find out a little bit more in depth these days. Neil Adkin, evening. What's the latest on Robertson, as we missed him last year? So he's rehabbing at the minute. I actually saw him in my gym the other day. Even on 5%, he does a lot more in the gym than I do, I can tell you that. Neil Fletcher, Max Borrock announced as playing at the PFA training camp this coming week, and as someone else has picked up, does that now mean that his trial with Notts, he was in goal in Germany, means that's come to an end? Don't honestly know. We'll see what we can find out when we talk with Martin on Tuesday, ahead of the show to be broadcast on Wednesday. Rosemary Mann says, can't wait to see us play Cardiff. Think we'll all feel better when we actually see them out on the pitch. Chris Gosling, if you look at the signings that have come in the main, there's a lot of attributes that we were missing last season. Nigel Cameron, if anyone knows where I can acquire some enthusiasm pills, then please let me know. Enthusiasm will come in the form of what we do on the pitch, Nigel, rather than signings, I suspect. Andy Easom, get the feeling we've attempted to sign X, Y, and Z, and when the agent puts the offer to his client, they're snubbing it as derogatory. James Moore is one of of many that said Archie Mayer is available on a free transfer. Surely worth a go. Colin Metcalf, I'd be interested to hear Stell's opinion as a pro about signing players this close to the season start and whether it affects them having time to integrate. Stell, all right, let's pick up on that one straight away. How important is it, or isn't it, when you're signing new players to bed them in a full pre-season or parachute them in with 7 days to go?
No, look, in an ideal world, you'd get them in the door as soon as possible before pre-season, give them as long as possible to get used to your teammates, get used to, the surroundings and all that sort of thing. So there's no way I could even try and say that this is ideal, getting 12 days away from the first game of the season and still awaiting maybe, hopefully, 2 or 3 key signings, really important signings. The only upside I can offer to it is it means that we are in for players who maybe have got other options. We are in for players that are maybe in demand. And that is why they will try and play it as close as they can to drive up the bargain, to get a better deal for themselves, and maybe playing clubs off against each other and hanging out for a bit more money or a longer contract or whatever it might be. That's the only upside I can give you. Is that means we are in for some quality players because that they can pick and choose. Basically, they've got more than one option, but not ideal. Absolutely not ideal. It's why clubs now, you hear so often, far more than before, that clubs go abroad. And I'm sure part of the reason not going to Germany is the fact that you can get the players together. It's yes, it's games, yes, it's training time, but it also gets the players together in each other's space and time. For 8-9 days or whatever it is. Rather than if you train at home all the way through pre-season, you sort of come in, train, you're all knackered, and then you go home to rest, and you all go your separate ways. So that's why most clubs nowadays do go away, go abroad usually. But it's that integration bit, getting to know people, not just in a football sense, but personally, and trying to get that. You can't manufacture it, generically, that team spirit, team bonding. But I think that's the main reason clubs do it. Now, if you come in after that, obviously, you've got less time to bond. You've got less time to get to know your surroundings and know your teammates. So it's not ideal. But again, the only sort of glimmer of hope I put on that is that we're maybe in for some players that have options, which means they are decent players, and hopefully we get the targets. And it's always better to get quality targets than just filling up spaces for the sake of it.
Okay, everyone likes rumours, whether they're baseless or true or not. One thing that seems to be doing the rounds in the last hour or two is a keeper by the name of Kel Roos, Dutchman, who was at Derby, I think, for a bit, most recently
Yeah.
released by Aberdeen. Bizarrely, I have no idea there's anything truth in this at all. Bizarrely, he was at Triestina, which is an Italian Serie C team. And I actually went to watch him last year, believe it or not. I can't remember him playing for him, but he played about 40 games for Trieste in Serie C last season. Big old unit, apparently, 6'5". But as I say, look, I'm sure there'll be another 101 names bandied around, but that seems to be one of the hour at the moment. And the other one that clearly is capturing some interest is that Macaulay Langstaff is allegedly going to Barnsley. Again, I have no idea, but clearly that's probably upsetting 1 or 2 Notts fans at the minute, given that they'd already got David McGoldrick as well. Gresham Maxwell, I thought you were going to make a bid for either of these 2 magpies, but I think you want the pink shirt behind me, don't you? Not a chance, dear boy, not a chance. Gazalee's eyes are going. He says the magpie to the left keeps twitching. Am I sure it's deceased? I think so. To my left, that one. I think it is. There's not a lot of life in it, but anyway, I'll resist the temptation to make any puns about previous Notts players and all the rest of it. ZO, welcome back, ZO. The teams promoted last year all had 5 to 7 loanies. I thought you only allowed 6. Are we going some way, hence delay in signing, to get some loan players in? One of the challenges with loan players, particularly higher up you go, the Premier League clubs don't tend to let them out too early. They tend to assess all their options before deciding what to do. Jonathan Hammocks. Hi, Jonathan. Great work from Paul in Germany on my vlogs. Also, I cannot believe how much negativity before a ball has been kicked. The keyboard warriors have been right at it on social media. We've got to give Martin a proper chance, surely. I like the way he speaks. Come on, you pies. Let's all collectively keep up the good work and stick together. Before we get a few more, Stel, I guess one of the most debated decisions of the club this summer was the departure of Alex Bass to Peterborough. Not been easy for us to find a really good keeper during the brothers' tenure, but we had one in Alex Bass. Depending who and what you believe, Darren McAntony, the Peterborough owner, said that they've been tracking him since May, and that the fee was 300,000 or more. That's about as much as we actually definitively know. In a way, it kind of suggests to me that no matter how important the player, kind of every player at this club has a price, and that if that valuation is met, the player is sold, because Alex still had a fair length of time on his contract. What were your, were your eyebrows raised when the club sold him, and at the very least that there wasn't a ready-made replacement coming straight in?
Yeah, look, I think one thing to say is that players have got a price no matter what club you're at, and I think that goes all the way up to the top, pretty much. There's very few players that you can't get for the right amount of money. So no exception in that. That Peterborough obviously met the valuation that not sold for Alex Bass. They obviously didn't want to sell him, but if somebody's offering you good money, again, it's a business that has to balance books. They deemed it an acceptable offer, not ideal. And yeah, like you again, maybe the fact that there isn't a bit like the managerial appointment. When Stewart was sacked, we sort of thought, they've got somebody in mind. It's going to be an imminent announcement, and it took a while to get the man. Alex Bass is the same. Number one keeper goes. You think, well, obviously, like I say, the deals don't just happen over a phone call. They go from nothing to 100 in the space of 5 minutes. It doesn't happen like that. So they would have known about Peterborough's interest for a bit. They would have had time to do their research. They've got plenty of data at their fingertips. So it is a little surprising that we haven't got a number one keeper in already. Maybe we've gone for one or two and not got them. I don't know. But yeah, a little surprising. But again, if somebody offers you good enough money, it's a business. You can't say no. There are plenty of other decent keepers out there, and whether they're as good as Alex Bass, that is debatable, of course, always. But if somebody gives you more than you think, like anything, selling anything, if somebody gives you more than you think it's actually worth, then you can sell and think, well, we can get an equal or better replacement for less money. Then that's how business works. So, but we're yet to see that replacement. That will, again, time will tell. Time always tells on recruitment, doesn't it? Replacements, if in 6 months' time we're going, do you know what? That was the key point. We let Alex Bass go. It shouldn't have happened. Or in 6 months' time, if we're wishing Alex Bass well at Peterborough, but we're flying, nobody will be bothered. Nobody will bat an eyelid about it. So again, it's all about what they do on the pitch, whether it's a keeper, whether it's outfield players, when it really matters. But yeah, a little surprised we've not got a replacement in for him, being it's such a key position as it always has been, but certainly now, as you want the sweeper keeper, the ball playing keeper, almost like the 11th outfield player. It's an important position nowadays with our team's play. So a little surprised he's not been replaced already. And then, again, we're saying this with no detriment to Harry Griffiths, who's come in from, from Forest. He may be the number one keeper. They may absolutely back him and think he's good enough, and he may well be. But I would expect a more senior keeper to come in at some point.
Playing devil's advocate a little bit, Stel, in terms of every player is available for the right price. When we had Martin Allen before Christmas, he was fairly unequivocal um, you don't. It's very hard to get promotion if you sell your best players. And you and I would both know managers will be saying, yes, there's a financial consideration in terms of what you receive for the player, but you've also got to weigh that up in terms of the value or the opportunity cost of reducing your chances of getting promotion.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, or that in a nutshell, that sort of juxtaposition, whatever you want to call it, of the financial aspects of any deal and the footballing merits of any deal. A
Yep.
manager will always look at the footballing merits of any deal. A football manager, and I know the head coaches now, and Martin, I'm not talking about Marty, but anybody in general will always want the best players, irrespective of pretty much how much it costs, how much wages it is. They'll always push the budget. They'll always want one more player, one more quality player, and keep the best players. And the people that have to balance the books will always look at it in black and white. Not black and white, but mainly there's a business aspect to this. We can't just spend money we haven't got. We can't just bankrupt ourselves on the chance of success. And the success, and one of the hardest things in football, is marrying and unifying them two positions to find, a sustainable model, if you like. That's the word that we're going down with knots, aren't we? To find this sustainable business model whilst also producing a successful football team. That is the utopia. Very, very difficult to achieve, but they've got this model that they work to with the data, the analytics, and they believe with every player, like I say, nothing's a knee-jerk decision. They will believe that selling Alex Bass for, if it's 300,000 or more than that, they will believe they can replace him for less than that money and be equally, if not better, in that position. And you could times that by every position within the squad. They believe that. The only way, data, no data, using your eyes, whatever, the only way that is ever proven is on the pitch in terms of success. And that is why it's such a, like I say, it's chasing the dream. It's the unicorn, isn't it? Trying to find a sustainable business model that provides entertainment and fantastic winning football on the pitch. Very, very difficult to do, but that's why they're in it. That's what all clubs are chasing, and it's not easy to achieve. And that's why, again, we should always be careful about expecting success. You have to go and earn it. You have to go and earn it. And a player or players could be perfect in terms of data, could with your own eyes go and sign him, go and sign him. You could play Championship Manager, and for whatever reason it might not work out. And also you can go and get players that, like we've done, players we don't know too much about really before they come here, and hopefully, under promise and over deliver sort of thing. So they come here and pleasantly surprise and go, wow, didn't realize he was as good as that, didn't realize he had that ability. Now this is what all the data, all the analysis, all the opinions of the backroom staff, the people that make the decisions, that's what they're trying to achieve, making a squad that is capable of success. And the only way we'll ever know whether these winders are successful or not is after the event. Easy after the event. They're trying to do it with a crystal ball, but using data and analysis and their opinions. And I think one thing that I would like to say, and I've said prior to Martin Patterson and Andy Edwards and Sam Slocum being sort of put together as the coaching team, I like the fact we've now got a fair amount of football experience, playing experience
Mm.
in amongst the head coach, the coach, the coaches, should I say. So I quite like that. That's something I thought was maybe lacking, maybe missing previously. And I said so. So that's one thing I would say. Look, they've been there, they've worn the shirts, put the boots on, crossed the white line, they know what it's all about. So I think that's something we've added, in that off-field position with these appointments. Say people will have their own opinions about the appointments, whether they're good or bad appointments, we'll find out again 10 games into the season, end of the season, all that sort of thing. But, I think that's a decent thing. But say marrying the two levels, boardroom level, finances, and pitch level, just wanting the best players, it's nigh on impossible. Anybody who picks a dream team or one of these fantasy teams, no, staying in budget is the hardest thing to do, even when it's not even real money.
Indeed. Chris J. Tyler Miller would be a decent number one keeper for us. Do you reckon he'd return? I think he's still around on the UK circuit. Someone's mentioned that he was trying out at Plymouth, but hasn't got anything there. AD Clark, in terms of every player has their value. Agree, Paul. That seems to be the model. Similar with Didzy, they had a valuation on him with the contract they offered him. Richard Elvian, we got more for Bass than expected. Would Belshaw be an option, says Kay. Ollie Norburn anywhere near being fit yet, asks Jurgen. Dale Pike, says that Tyler Miller was offered a contract at Plymouth, but it was only likely to be only for second choice, so nothing confirmed there yet. James Moore, let's all not forget, and I'm talking directly to Chris and Alex, you always said you want to bring through new talent to sell on, but reinvest that money into the playing staff. We haven't seen too many signs so far. Chris Gosling, to go and get a number one of any quality will cost us a transfer fee, says Chris. Ian Cooksey, in terms of the update on Ollie Norburn, not kicked a ball in pre-season, so I wouldn't have thought so just yet. I believe I think he's doing well on his rehab, but I certainly didn't see him getting out onto the pitch in Germany, so probably going to be a little way off yet. Steve Cartwright, do you think it's a good thing the new home shirt going on sale to season ticket holders first? Neil says, them magpies seem to be frozen. Are they still on your German hotel Wi-Fi, Paul? Yeah, you go to Germany, expect the best Wi-Fi possible, and it hardly worked. Zedo. Paul, did we appear to be stuck with 5 at the back based on German friendlies, or any glimmer of 4 at the back? Still feel squad better suited to back 4. Get Jody and Jarvis well away from defence. Yeah, that was actually something I was just chatting with Stell, having been out in Germany before we did the show, and it would appear Notts are continuing to operate with a 3 at the back with 2 wing backs. Jarvis played left wing back at some of the time, Riley Reynolds, and there does appear to be a view that Jody Jones is going to play a 10 role, if you like, this season. And again, it's pure supposition on my part, but you would imagine Barry Cotter being brought in would be more likely to play than not play, which may well lend him to being in a right wing back role. But we shall have to wait and see. Lewis Macari, I mean, all these curveballs have been thrown at Martin since his arrival, Stel. Look, we'll tread carefully, but I think it's a valid subject, and you can give us some insight into this. Betting rules in football much tougher now, clearly, than they were back in your day. And basically, anyone involved in football, certainly all professional footballers, managers, coaches, are not allowed to place bets in any shape or form on any football. Lewis Macari has been charged with some betting breaches back in the day when he was a teenager, just turned 18 at Stoke, who, coincidentally, bizarrely, call it what you will, are owned by the Coates family of Bet365 fame. It sounds a lot, 350 charges, but when you, without going into too much detail, when you have accumulators and 9 from 10s and things like that, that isn't one bet. That works out at about 70 different bets. I mean, what's your thoughts, Stel, on this? I mean, do we need more education, or this appears to be an historical charge rather than anything current? The last date of the allegations of the betting, I think, was 2022, a long time before he came to us. I mean, what are your thoughts on this whole being a footballer? How much, how intelligent were you at 18? and how well,
I'm,
you know the
I'm
point
not
I'm
that
making.
intelligent at 50. Yeah, look, it's it's not a difficult one. I don't think. I mean, age obviously plays a part of it, and we're talking about, like I say, he was at Stoke at the time. Like I say, 18 years of age. Um, but y- you sort of should know, really. He's made a mistake. He's made mistakes. Whatever. You should know that you're not allowed to bet on football. You say about education. I think nowadays players know that. Like I said, I can't put guesswork into it that they do it and hope they don't get found out, and possibly not for loads of money or whatever. But you get found out. Like I say, he'll have to take his punishment. He'll learn from it and take his punishment. It was years ago, and what that punishment will be. Time will tell. But like I say, I don't know the ins and outs of his situation, why he did it, you just don't know. But it's been found out. Like anything, you do the crime, you do the time, and all that sort of thing. That Martin Patterson, I think, has come out today and said the club will support him in whatever he needs, and that's absolutely right. It's just it's a daft mistake, or it's a series of daft mistakes. But yeah, he'll pay a bit of a punishment for it, and then we move on. That's the thing. Again, it's just another bit that Notts could do without, couldn't it? In this summer where we're looking for some good news, we get Jata with his remaining 5 games confirmed, and now Lewis McCarey with what we expect. Well, I would expect to be some sort of suspension at some point. I don't know how long the process takes as well, but yeah, not ideal again for Notts. But look, this happened way before he's with Notts. He's a youngish lad at the time. Well, which 18-year-old hasn't made mistakes? And then they say, how intelligent was I at 18? Not particularly. So we've all made mistakes. Look, it's one of them things. He'll get a punishment, serve the punishment, and then move on. Like I say, no sort of cross to bear after that sort of thing. So we'll see what comes of it. But again, not ideal for Notts.
Don't forget to hit that red subscribe button if you want to be entered automatically into the free draw to win a Notts County away shirt of your size. We'll be announcing the winner next week on that. You led us neatly there into Alisana Jata stuff. So, top scorer last season, 22 goals, PFA team or league team of the year. He's in the final year of his contract. The agent who's got a bit of previous is kind of stirring the pot with allegations of the background behind the visa. Yeah, and I've spoken to the club again, and they assure me that this it basically was going to take them an inordinately longer period of time they would have run out of time, so couldn't get the visa in time for him to go on tour. He's missing the first 5 games, so that's more than 10%, of your season. What you Martin Patterson? What do you do with him? What do you do with him? Are you going to play him against Cardiff because you can't play him for 5 games? Do the club need to protect the asset and look at offering him a new contract or not? As I understand it, from January the 1st, he will be free to talk to overseas clubs. What do you do with him?
Yeah, it's a tricky one again. Another curveball for Martin Patterson to deal with straight away, isn't it? A bit of a curate's egg sort of thing. He 5-game ban. Yeah, obviously, he missed the second leg at Wimbledon, so it was a
So he
six-game
got a
ban.
6-game
Person that
ban,
said
just so
that.
people are
Yeah,
clear.
just so
3
people know
games for the
that.
straight red, and then there was a separate charge levelled against him in terms of his conduct after the red card, for which he was given another 3 matches. And I think whether the club weren't quite sure what had gone on or whatever, we were only told with clarity for the first time by Martin in his post-match interview after the Stuttgart game, definitively, that he was given a 6-match ban, of which he served 1. He's therefore out for the first 5 games.
Yeah, that's it. So that's it. So what do you do with a player who's not available for your first game? You're absolutely right. It's difficult, and like I say, agents stirring up trouble. That's nothing new, is it? Or trying to stir things up, a bit of interest. But you could almost understand the club not really trying too hard if there was a problem with the visa, because he's not going to be available. Like I say, and again, it's not always, I don't like to keep going back. Oh, in my day, if you weren't available for 5 games, the manager wouldn't speak to you until you were
That's right.
available. It's the same as being injured. You were no use. You couldn't go out on the pitch. You were no use to the club, so you'd have been ostracised anyway. Things have moved on, obviously. But so I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that the club didn't want to get him a visa,
No.
but I think the fact that they couldn't get him to Germany, not particularly critical, because he's, again, as I understand, I think Bromley on the 23rd is going to be the first game he's available for. So look, it's difficult. Again, there's no point playing him, I don't think, from the start against Cardiff, because I imagine you will be as close to a starting 11 as he's ever going to show his hand. Because don't
Mm.
forget, pre-season, there are scouts from other clubs. Newport will keep tabs on what Notts are doing the week before the season, just as Notts will be keeping tabs on them and other clubs we've got early on. So you're not going to sort of write the team list for them. You're not going to maybe play your exact 11 that you're going to start on the first day, but it won't be far away. You'll have combinations that will be playing together, and maybe one or two little tweaks or trying things, and then you'll bring your substitutes. So I imagine Jata will be on the bench and get however many minutes they deem, however many minutes they want to get in starters legs. How many players that are going to be available for that Newport game. So it is difficult. It's all these things that get thrown in, sort of curveballs that get thrown at a manager, a head coach, that you have to deal with. Nothing's ever plain sailing, is it? You get your best team, your best 11 players are all fit, and your squad players are all fit and all happy, and everything's rosy. Very rarely like that in a football dressing room and behind the scenes. So, like I say, they juggle a lot of things. A lot of things have to come together. So yeah, from a Jata perspective, would I offer him a new contract? I'd certainly be having them conversations. I imagine they'll have been having them conversations prior to it. Once they make a decision on him as an asset, are they selling, are they keeping, then I imagine it's a natural progression then to go, if we keep him, then we need to tie him down to a contract. If, as you say, this is his last year of his contract, there's no options for the club at the end of it, there's no triggers that extend it, then yeah, I'm sure them conversations may be happening with the agent. And again, a little bit of jiggery pokery from an agent, getting his player's name in the press, making waves, getting his name out there and put about, just to see if it can stir up a bit more interest to create a few more pounds or euros or wherever he wants to go. But that's if he wants to go. But it's what agents do. So that's a lot of noise around it. Like I say, the fact they didn't get a visa, strange, but I don't think anything too sinister, and not too sinister given the fact he misses the first 5 games of the season. So again, his pre-season is maybe going to be tailored differently to the starting team, starting players, or the players that you think you've got for the first 4 or 5 games. He's not one of them. So again, you can maybe just tweak his training a little bit, just to make sure he's right and ready come the 6th game of the season. But he's got to fight for his shirt. You want somebody in them first. Well, I want somebody in them first 5 games to make a claim for saying, well, when you're available, you're on the bench and you wait your turn, because you ain't getting the shirt off me.
Andy Easom says, listening to the gaffer after the Stuttgart pre-season game, he was very forthright regards bringing in more bodies. However, I do feel there will be several players who won't be figuring in his squads next season. James Moore says, if the writing was ever on the wall at the start of a season, it's this season. I really do hope we have some massive positive news before we kick off the season. Neil says, I think Notts need a replacement for Jata, whether he stays or not. For me, Langstaff has never been truly replaced. So, I mean, picking up more that point, Stel, are there enough goals in the team at the minute, do you think? Dan Crowley obviously chipped in a lot. Jody Jones, through injury, wasn't able to contribute as much last season. There's no David McGoldrick. Matt Dennis has obviously come in, and we look to see how he settles down. We've lost an awful lot of goals, haven't we, in the last 6 months or so out of this team. And obviously Abbott chipped in as well, and no surprise, gone back to Tottenham, and he ain't coming back.
Yeah, I mean, goals, it's still the thing, isn't it? You've got to score goals to win games. It's the most important thing, it's the most difficult thing. And replacing proven goal scorers, there's the names you've mentioned, that is tricky. So there's pressure on Matt Dennis coming in and one or two others to go and get their name. What's it, Tom or no, Pender? He's coming in, and people are immediately going to judge him against George Abbott. Completely unfairly to him, but he's going to be
Different player, very
be
different
playing in.
style
The,
of
yeah,
football.
you've said you've seen him, and quite rightly so. But the comparison, he plays in that same position. You imagine he's probably going to get a starting berth at the start of the season. Fitness allowing, then people are going to draw that comparison, just like they are with players in every position. But as I've said, I still think, and it's the biggest question mark, and look, time will tell. But that creative slash putting the ball in the back of the net end of the pitch is where there is a massive, massive question mark at the minute for not squad. There's only really Jata, and I know Jody scored a few goals, but there's only really Jata with a proven goal scoring record, really. Everyone else is sort of an unknown quantity. There are others that we haven't mentioned, Connor Grant and Will
Yes,
Jarvis, players that
yeah,
need to step up, need to step up in terms of goal output, so, that there's other players there that are capable. Even the skipper, Matt Palmer, last season didn't score, you know, now, can he be chipping in with a few goals? He's certainly got the quality to be adding a few goals to his game. You'd be setting him that challenge. They have to be shared around. You can't rely on one or two people to get all the goals. But, you know, say it's always the toughest thing. And that is where I think there is legitimate questions and we are looking for answers. And only the players can provide it. But I think at the minute, that is where most Notts fans will say that's where we're potentially short at the moment.
the head coach. I don't think too many of us had Martin Patterson down or saw Martin coming in. Uh, I think that since he's come in, um, I guess because most fans haven't been able to see us play yet, other than on a stream in Germany, his every word and his post-match press conferences are being dissected to the nth degree, and I think it would be fair to say he's more forthright, he's more direct than Stuart was, and that seems to have gone down very well, but we all know he will be judged on results, and results alone. Um, what what have you made so far of Martin? He certainly talking with Matty Platt. We did a vlog while I was out in Germany, and Matty was speaking how tough pre-season had been. Um, does seem to be putting on quite a lot more demands on the players, a bit more direct, and I think you've mentioned this point already in the show, that his pedigree and background in playing professional football should stand him in good stead, having played international Premier League at the top end as well as in the other divisions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I say, every player in pre-season will have demands placed on them and things like that. I think I've been impressed with Martin Patton is the short answer since he's come in again. As I said at the time, sort of an underwhelming appointment in terms of names that people were maybe hoping for, wanting or whatever. He came in with no real CV, if you like, in terms of success. But what I've seen from him and heard from him, I've been quite impressed with. Again, forthright, intense is the word, but it's the game is intense nowadays. You need sort of an intensity. It isn't it isn't just a kickabout. This is serious business, and there's a lot of money at stake, and it's a dream job. There's life-changing money available in the game at any sort of level. So there's a lot riding on it. So you don't really want a joker in there, do you? You want somebody who can harness players. Now then, whether that proves to be the case, time will tell. Again, like any of these things, we've not got a crystal ball, but I like the way he speaks. I like the fact that there's a football background in that coaching staff, a playing background. Does that mean they're going to make great coaches, managers? Of course it doesn't, but I like the way they speak. I like the way he seems to. He's obviously driving standards, as they've had before. And let's not forget, for all the mention we give of Okay, the players that we brought in, there's not been an exciting name, if you like. But let's not forget, we're not talking about a a ragtag and bone sort of team that they're coming into. We've got the bare bones of a decent team, or a spine of a decent team from last season. It was just, the flourishing bits, the players at the top end, creativity bits, the exciting bit that we need adding to, and I think we still do. But the rest of the team is really solid. It's quality, certainly for League Two football. Um, so again, it's about maybe fine tuning. But I do get the impression from his interviews, and we will ask him this tomorrow, and he may not answer it. He may sidestep it completely. But I just get the impression there's a hint of him that he's maybe frustrated at the recruitment, or the
Mhm.
total quality within the squad, probably at top end as well of the pitch. You know, I think again, like every football manager, head coach, they want more quality, but I get the impression he's just, yeah, we do still need to add. He's not, coming out with false promises, and nor should he. But I do get the impression he's that, and to be fair to him, he spoke well. And I think the tide of the fans' opinion, from what I've seen, the bits on social media and a few that I've spoken to, think he's got a lot more of them on side already. From the
Yeah,
appointment where people were maybe turning, who's this? We don't know what, he's not done anything. 6 months as a manager at Burton, whatever. To now, no, he speaks with intensity. He drives standards. He doesn't seem happy with anything less than, success. He speaks well, and I think that will win a few people over. And I think it has, added to the fact that maybe people are looking at it going, is he being given the tools that he needs to do the job? And that maybe deflects a little bit away from that, takes a bit of pressure off him, and go,
yeah.
yeah, let's have a look at other areas of the club. Is the recruitment doing its job? Has that maxed out, its position? And at the minute, you would say there's a question mark. Say, not saying they haven't, but there's that question mark there. And I think that sort of won Martin Patterson a few floating voters, if you like. It's won a few over. Not everybody, of course. That'll wait to be seen when the games actually start, and we are 6, 7, 8 games into the season. But I think he's done, he's spoken well, he's done everything he can do. And again, time will tell on the football field, but we absolutely wish him the best. But from what he's spoken about, I like the way he speaks. Um, and hopefully they can get the job done.
It's notoriously difficult to pick up any accurate barometers from pre-season. One thing I would perhaps take away, having been out in Germany, and again, we mentioned this just before off air, before the show started, Stel, was that, and you said one of the worst criticisms that could ever be leveled at a professional footballer or at a club is they're too nice. And I think the way in which we went out with a whimper rather than on our shields against Wimbledon in the two playoff games kind of manifested that to everybody. Dark arts, all the rest of it. And, I noticed, I think we will be much more competitive, let's put it like that, in a politest way. And I think we will be much harder and nastier to play against, I think, this season. There was the Jack Hinchy somewhat late challenge in the opening 10 minutes against Darmstadt that cleared both benches. Then there was Barry Cotter's challenge, which has went viral. It's been seen by something like 4.7 million people on the German guy. And he's obviously got a turn of pace because he managed to escape the Kaiserslautern players' clutches very quickly. So if there's one thing I would perhaps take away from Germany, I think we're not going to be a soft touch this year. Whatever
No,
happens result-wise, I don't think we will be a soft touch.
no, and I hope we're not. Like I say, I don't. I think there's been times we've been a little bit of a soft touch. I don't think we have last
No,
season.
that's a bit unfair.
Completely. But no, no, you're right.
When we played at Wimbledon and other teams, we often struggled against that
Yeah.
kind of football.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I've not seen the Jack Hinchy tackle you talking about. I have seen the Barry Cotter one. Like I'm one of the 4.7 million, whatever it was, that's seen it. And my word, yeah, I think I'd have reacted like the Kaiserslautern players in a pre-season tackle like that. Crikey me. But look, that's over the line. That's over the line of what you want. You don't want red cards and things like that. But you absolutely have to be competitive. You absolutely have to stand up for yourself and as a team. And I like the fact that, despite the challenge, his teammates were there, just trying to
Yeah.
protect him, if nothing else. But yeah, the team were around him. So it's bits like that. You pick up bits of team spirit, for things like that. Not the tackle, again, the reaction to that and the reaction to the other players. So that's not what we're advocating. That's not what we want. But absolutely what you say, that the sort of premise is that we want to play good attacking, free flowing football, but we don't want to be a team that's deemed nice, because they're nice to watch when they've got the ball, but then when you haven't got the ball, they're also nice to play against. That's not what you want. You want to be nice with the ball, easy on the eye, but then be nasty, horrible, in your face team when you haven't got the ball, winning it back fairly, working hard. And again, that's sort of what Martin Patterson has said in his interviews about how he wants his team to be. So, they've got to be fit for that. They've got to be up for that. And they've got to have that character and side to their game, all individually and then collectively. So, I say you've seen the games, you've seen that side to them. And if that is the case, there's a bit more bite about us, a bit more spite about us, in a good way, not the sending off way, not getting stupid red cards and things like that. But that's a good thing. That is a good thing if it adds a little bit of toughness, a bit of grit, a bit of nastiness. We want to be nasty to play to teams. You want teams to hate coming to Meadow Lane, not just because the atmosphere they're going to face, because the team they're going to play against, dogged, but good with the ball, dangerous, but in your face. That's what you want from a team, and exactly, they've got to set that ball early in the season, and that comes from the top down. Martin Patterson, Andy Edwards, Sam Slocum, the coaches, they'll set that throughout pre-season. They'll set the standards, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. What your basics. Do the basics, work hard, play forward when you can. I've heard him say that. That's the first thing. We may be a little bit more direct. I'm not saying long ball. I'm saying he'll want us to get the ball forward with quality, maybe a little bit earlier than what we're used to. And I think that can only be a good thing as well. But like anything, only if it's done well, only if the players are good enough to do that, good enough to take on the instruction, and good enough to perform it out on the pitch. And then when you haven't got the ball, be nasty, be exactly what you don't want to play against, and that's work hard, never giving up, and always harassing and haranguing opponents.
Andy Eason makes an interesting point. Last season, we didn't pick up a red card until the Wimbledon game. This time, I guarantee we won't go through the entire campaign without a dismissal or two. Adam Kent says that challenge by Cotter was bad, but so were the half dozen or so other challenges before that on Notts players. Bit of a debate developing on captaincies for the coming season. Some people are putting forward the case of Matty Platt. Wonder perhaps when Ollie Norburn is fit whether there might be a claim there. But Matty Platt, the current incumbent is Matty Palmer. So let's see where we do and don't get to with that. Right, we're coming up to the end of the first show. We'll be doing our homework with regards some questions and a chat with Mr. Patterson. The plan is for that to be recorded tomorrow on Tuesday, and we will then be going live with that interview at 7 o'clock on Wednesday. Keep an eye out on our socials for confirmation of that. If you've not already subscribed, please do so. Hit that little red button in your corner if you're watching it on YouTube, automatically then entered along with everybody else who's already a subscriber into the draw to win an away shirt courtesy of one of our partners, JH Accountants. Stel, thank you very much as always. Oh, someone was asking, how's the batting? How's your batting averages been? Is it Stel ball or whatever when you're playing?
No, it absolutely isn't. No, oh God, no, not great. Not great is the answer. I think time is catching up with me. It's sort of catching up with my eyes. Can't see the ball so well nowadays. I can't react in the field and all that. So not brilliantly. But I play one more game. I've got a game this Saturday, so I'm not going to be at the Cardiff game. I'm going to try and get some runs this weekend, and then obviously we're into the season at Newport. But yeah, nothing to write home about my cricket as like my football really. So yeah, I enjoy it, but that's about it. I'm afraid the game is, like a lot of things, leaving me behind.
Oh, just one thing. So it's Newport away first game. Have you seen who Newport have got as the main guest in their hospitality for the game?
Well, I've not. No, go on.
No, I don't know whether it's like little digging us. The main guest for Newport's hospitality and wandering around the building. He lives in Newport area. Luke Williams.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I
Wow.
thought. He's never played for Newport, as far as I know. I thought that's
Wow. Okay, that's a strange one, but yeah. Oh, well, it'd be good to see him I doubt we'll get to see him, but yeah, and he's been working at the airport, hasn't he? We
He
saw over
has.
the summer doing his bit,
Yes.
I say. So yeah, fair play to him. I'm sure he'll be back in the game before too long.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Thank you, one and all, for tuning in tonight. The first, I guess, English pre-season podcast of the new year. So, all being well, you'll be seeing us Wednesday, but that is a pre-record, and then we'll be back next Monday with the preview for Newport. Sounds incredible, doesn't it? 12 days away to the start of the big kickoff once again. Thank you, one and all. Thanks as always, Stel.
Cheers, no problem, Paul. Like I say, we're getting ready, aren't we? It's getting closer.
And hopefully by next Monday we'll be able to talk about the new goalkeeper and a 20 goal a season striker.
Absolutely, yeah. And hopefully both for Notts, not any other team. Yeah.
Right. Cheers, everyone. Thank you for watching. We'll catch up with you soon. Cheers for now. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.